What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Good afternoon. Welcome back to another press conference reaction. It's Bournemouth versus Manchester United. Erik ten Hag has been speaking to the assembled media at Carrington ahead of tomorrow's trip to the South Coast, ahead of tomorrow's final away Premier League game for Manchester United this season. 2 more wins required. Only 2 more wins are needed. But despite him returning to training this week, despite Marcus Rashford training throughout the entirety of this week, Marcus Rashford is a massive doubt. Breaking news coming in the last couple of minutes through Ten Hag's press conference, which was very, very short, by the way. Very short. I mean, this might be the record. We've had some short press conferences from Ten Hag in the past, but this was literally 4 minutes. I counted it. It started at 1:15. It was done by 12:19. That quick. Very, very quick stuff. Only a few questions, short answers, in and out. And not too much to talk about, really. But the biggest thing is that Marcus Rashford is a doubt for tomorrow, despite him training throughout the entirety of this week. He's reported ill today, and they're going to have to see how he feels over the next 24 hours, or maybe even less than that, to see if he's available, if he's ready. 1, to make the trip to the South Coast, and 2, if he's actually available to play. So it looks like possibly second week in the row, we might not have Marcus Rashford available for that big away clash. Let me know your thoughts on that as you file in. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Andre first. Now, lots of people talk about the first. I did something, a video on my channel the other day, and someone did first, and it got a negative reaction. People went, "Oh, what does that matter?" Of course it matters. But timing is very important. It's always important to be punctual, and particularly on this channel. So, yes, good, yes. SJ says, wow, someone's early. Well, it was a very short press conference. Usually, the way it goes is these press conferences, about 15 minutes, something like that, 15-ish minutes, usually. So, if it was going to be at 1:15 today, most likely you're going live for about 1:30. Again, it's a rough number, but that's the kind of, what am I thinking of? Formula. That's what I'm looking for. That's the formula usually, but this was done less than 5 minutes. It was pretty wild. And Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Die says, looking beautiful as always, Owen. Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Die. Wow. Making me blush. Oh, it's all the water. Yeah, everyone knows the skincare routine. People want to know. People have been asking. People, hit me up. What kind of moisturizer do you use, Owen? What kind of toner? Face mask? Eye cream? What have you? Do you incorporate retinol, which is good for the bags under the eyes? And I just say just water. But that's just me. Different skins, different people, as the well-known phrase goes. Yeah. So there you go. Ed says, big up Owen Miro. Lucas Chan says, need Rashford fit. No need to rush him. Well, he was fit. The issue was the illness. That was the problem, which is, again, very unfortunate. So there you go. But indeed, let's get into some of these questions and the responses from the Manchester United manager ahead of tomorrow's final away Premier League game of the season for the Red Devils. So the first question was from Simon Stone. He said, Erik, you're right, Erik. No, there's no Simon Peach. It was Simon Stone. So it was Erik. Marcus and Varane and McTominay. They've been training this week. So available. And Ten Hag said, I mean, that Simon Stone impression isn't even close to being accurate, by the way. So Simon, if you're watching, big up. Ten Hag said, it's positive on Varane. He's definitely available. Tick. Scott McTominay is joining in training. I think if the final training goes well, he'll be in. So McTominay is going to be available. Probably not going to start bench, but he most likely should be available. And Rashford, this is where the curveball came in. He trained the whole week, but today he reported he doesn't feel well. So he's ill. We have to wait and see how he recovers during the day and then see tomorrow. So Rashford, big doubt. And to be honest, if you're ill the day before a game, doesn't rule out you playing. I mean, I can't sit here and say that Marcus Rashford isn't going to play, because I won't be shocked if he plays tomorrow, because Marcus Rashford always wants to play every game, and it's the final away game of the season, away from home. We're pretty poor. I thought he were poor. So we're going to need those kind of players. But last week, it was interesting, wasn't it? And I kind of mentioned this to Flex during the preview. And it's not to disregard what Marcus Rashford has done this season, because that's not fair. He's been the one that's been scoring goals for us. If we didn't have Marcus Rashford's goals this season, we wouldn't even be talking about top four. And we really need them because not a lot of other people have been really scoring that many goals. But when we played Wolves last weekend, I did kind of catch myself during the game on a couple of occasions going, are we really missing Rashford today? And I didn't think we were. And that's really only based on the last, maybe month, 6 weeks. He hasn't been the Rashford that he was earlier on this season. For instance, all this talk about Manchester City and the FA Cup final, when we played City at Old Trafford this season and we beat them, that was a different Marcus Rashford to the Marcus Rashford we have now. So I'm not going to be like, oh, we're not going to miss him if he doesn't play tomorrow, but I'm still confident that we can get the win regardless of whether he's available or not. Of course, if he is available, that's good. That's good. And I think he would play. Maybe it just makes that even if he is available, he might start on the bench. It does put a few question marks, I suppose, when it comes to the team news. I mean, the team that I expect tomorrow still, De Gea in goal. I expect Dalot to start, even though I would prefer Wan-Bissaka to start. And I think Wan-Bissaka will start the remaining 2 games of the season, those 2 home games against Chelsea and Fulham. But something in me says Dalot starts tomorrow. Back 4, well, the rest of the back 4 will be Varane, Lindelof, Shaw. And I was looking forward to seeing both Rashford and Shaw back on the left-hand side, because I think with Shaw being at left back, that tends to get the best out of Marcus Rashford. I think it's quite sort of forgotten how important Luke Shaw has been to Marcus Rashford's form this season as well. So I think Shaw will be at left back. Midfield, Casemiro. I said I wouldn't be shocked if Fred played, honestly, but I think most likely it'll be Eriksen. On the right, of course, Antony. Through the middle, Bruno. And then on the left, that's where it gets interesting, because if Rashford isn't available because he's ill, who plays on the left? Is it Jadon Sancho or is it Alejandro Garnacho? Considering Garnacho came on, scored the second goal against Wolves, and the problem is he's just come back from injury as well. And also the issue sometimes with Garnacho is sometimes he's more effective because he's still young. He's more effective coming on at 60, 65 minutes, injecting the game with pace, going at already fatigued and tired fullbacks, making it difficult for the opposition. Sometimes that's where he's at his best. So that will be interesting. But I think if Rashford's not available, and I know obviously Sancho would be the other option, I think Ten Hag would go Garnacho. I think he would go with the player that scored last week, honestly. I really think he would. But despite Rashford being ill today, part of me still thinks that he might actually start tomorrow, because I just think the game's so important. And you really do think that if we win tomorrow, obviously then we need one more win. But that's a hurdle for us at the moment. Our away form has been particularly poor, obviously against the teams in the top half, but it's kind of crept in a little bit with the teams in the bottom half as well. Bournemouth got nothing to play for. It could be, if they don't show up, that is a game that United could win 2 or 3-0, even though we haven't been scoring that many goals. Or it could be a really tough and difficult game, and they can be up for it, and they can want to end their season out on a high against a big team. So that is going to be a challenging one for Ten Hag. But even though he's ill, there's just something about when he says, I wouldn't be shocked if he started. I wouldn't be shocked. What have we got here? Charlie says, we'll be fine without Rashford. 27 chances last game. We can do that against Bournemouth. Well, this is what I kind of mentioned in that game against Wolves. I didn't, sit there and be like, I feel like we really missed him. Not that game. And Blue Dabba Dabba says, I'm eating watermelon at Owen. Is it the Marcel watermelon? Because, the thing is, if you ask Marcel, is watermelon your favorite fruit? He'd probably say
100%. 100%.
It's always good to know. What else have we got here? Sully Jr. says, stop it. Oh, well, sorry. Sully Jr. Childhood flashback. Without Rashi, we nothing. One game doesn't change anything. Without Rashford, we're nothing. One game doesn't change anything. What, referring to not missing him last week? Or referring to him, one game doesn't change anything if he's not there? I'm not sure the point. I think you're referring to that we didn't miss him last week. We're nothing without Rashford. I disagree with that a bit because, again, earlier this season, yes, but you cannot deny that Marcus Rashford has dropped off in the last couple of months. And he was always going to. I mean, he was in a proper purple patch earlier on this season, no doubt about it. Well, his numbers were up there with the best in Europe. And he shouldn't have to carry Manchester United on his back, which is essentially what he's doing from a goal-scoring point of view. But you can't ignore that he's dropped off a little bit. You can't. Lucas Chan says, did you see the final photo of my tattoo? And I did. I like the look of it. And Lucas Chan going through the pain barrier. If you want to see Lucas Chan getting worked on, getting inked up this morning, go and check out the Morning View. That's what you always get. When you're live here at United View, there's no, believe it or not, there's no formats. There's no formats. Anything can happen. You never know, particularly when you're live. And we saw Lucas Chan getting a tattoo this morning. It was excellent. Ed says Rash at best will be on the bench. Sati says Rashford will be playing. Mind games. And Vera says we were okay without Rashford against Wolves. We will be okay. And that's kind of what my thought process is that obviously Rashford be a miss and would be ideal if he was going to play. But I don't look at it like, if Rashford isn't available, we ain't beating Bournemouth. No way. We're not beating Bournemouth without Marcus Rashford. I don't feel like that. And there was a little bit of that, wasn't there? Prior to the Wolves game last weekend, when it was Marcus Rashford's a massive doubt because he's injured, there was a feeling of where are we going to get the goals from? How are we going to score? And we got 2 goals. So there are still people in that team that will have to step up. And same if Rashford's not available tomorrow. So Marcus Rashford is a doubt because of illness, not injury. And as is the case of illness, you never know. He could indeed be available anyway. Next question was inevitably about Manchester City, of course, dominating the headlines this week with their performances, 3 wins away from winning a treble. Manchester City, of course, reached the Champions League final. The question was put to Ten Hag. I'm guessing this sets the standard that you have to match. How does that affect the group that you need? How does that affect the players that you need and the ability to spend in the market? And Ten Hag said, when I see this project, first of all, it's all important to get into the Champions League. I don't think today at that standard, I look to the next game, Bournemouth. We have to win that game and get in the Champions League. Focus on the game. The game was coming up. Now, if you watch the Morning View this morning with myself and Flex, we kind of predicted or just sort of discussed briefly what we thought Ten Hag was going to be asked and his responses in the press conference. And obviously, inevitably, he was always going to be asked about Man City. When you're Manchester United and you're the noisy neighbours, and they're more than that at the moment, aren't they? Across the city are doing, got a potentially it's a real reality. They could win the treble, 3 wins away. Win at the weekend, they've won the Premier League. They've got a Champions League final against a team they're expected to beat, and an FA Cup final against us, where we're the underdog. So, of course, he's going to be asked about it, and of course, that's going to be the response from Ten Hag is, well, we're just focusing on the next game. We're just focusing on Bournemouth. We can't focus too much on the standard, and we can't focus too much on Man City and what they're doing. And of course, he's right. You can't be like, we're going to do everything in our power to stop them or this, that, and the other, because that will come later on. But it's a cliche, but it's true. All United can do right now, or all United can affect at the moment, is the next game. That's all they can do. And this is the point when people talk about Liverpool or last night Newcastle battering Brighton, impressive. Most likely they're going to make the top 4. Fantastic season that they've had, and obviously with the money and the wealth that they've got now that they're near enough in the Champions League, they're a massive rival a massive threat to everyone in the Premier League. No doubt about it. They're no longer this sort of plucky underdog. They've managed to sort of foster that image about themselves, haven't they, this season? Maybe because some of the players that they've got, and Eddie Howe and an English manager, people are like, it's a great story. Newcastle getting back into the Champions League and all this kind of stuff. No, they are a genuine threat to the Premier League. Everyone else that's trying to compete, they've got unlimited wealth. They are the wealthiest club in the world. They're no underdog, Newcastle. People should be very afraid of them. But we can't focus on them. We can't focus on what they're doing. We can't worry about what Liverpool are doing because we have to take care of ourselves. We have to handle our own business. As of right now, it is still within our own hands. We don't have to rely on anyone else. We don't have to look for favours from any other clubs or anything like that. If we take care of our own business, we will be in the Champions League next season. If we beat Bournemouth, we'll only need 1 more win to get into the Champions League next season. That can come against Chelsea at Old Trafford, or it can come against Fulham at Old Trafford. Either way works. And obviously, even if we don't win tomorrow, we still have those 2 games. But to have those 2 games remaining and just need the 3 points. That's ultimately what we're looking for. And you never know. Look, tomorrow, Liverpool, they might slip up against Aston Villa at home. And if we win our game and take care and handle our own business, it might make it even more easy for ourselves. That's all we can focus on. That's all we can do. So, of course, he's going to get those questions. And, of course, he's going to respond to that as well. See what else some of you guys are saying. Lucas Chan, some people are saying to Lucas Chan, the next tattoo he should get is of my face. And he has said, if we win the quad next season, he's going to get my face. Now, that is a very dangerous promise, yeah, because, well, we're not going to win the quadruple, but you never know. And this face, I mean, this face barely belongs on my body, let alone someone else's. Yeah, that's a very risky strategy, Lucas Chan. I wouldn't recommend it. You've started off well with the tattoo today. This, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I think that might be a bad move for you. You know, you might get some looks, and not the kind of looks you're looking for. Yeah, no. So there you go. Next question was a question about budgets and transfer spend in the summer. Obviously, because of what City are doing and because we're heading into transfer territory towards the end of the season, transfer window opens up next month in June. The question was put to Ten Hag. Have you had conversations with the likes of Richard Arnold and John Murtough, the chief executive officer and the football director, respectively, as to what is available to you this summer? And Ten Hag said, we're talking every day. And as I mentioned, this was a very short press conference. I think it's staggering so far. I've managed to get nearly 17 minutes out of it. So he just went, we're talking every day. And I'm sure they are. But at the same time, this is kind of what we were talking about the other day when we were talking about the takeover stuff, really, is that I'm sure Ten Hag is talking to John Murtough and they're talking to Richard Arnold. And when they probably ask, what's going on with the takeover stuff? They're like, business as usual. We don't know. No one knows. No, apart from the Glazers, no one really knows what's going on. NDAs, it's ongoing. There's still the exploration of strategic alternatives. No one knows which way it's going. No one knows if there's going to be a full sale. No one knows if it's going to be minority. Clearly, in terms of the stuff that's been put out there in the media, the 2 front runners are Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I'm not even going to say who's ahead of the other because we don't know. And I don't even think they know at this point. So whilst that's all going on, they have to just adopt their business as usual approach to it. We're just going to keep going on and keep doing our thing until we're told otherwise that it's any different. And because of that, Erik ten Hag's got his targets, his list of people he'd be interested in. John Murtough, I guess, is going to try and help facilitate that. Richard Arnold's going to put across as to what the budget is as of today, as of right now. Reportedly, it's 100 million quid. Plus player sales, which maybe could drive it up a little bit. It becomes difficult, I suppose, when it comes to actually approving player sales or approving transfer spend, because surely that would have to be signed off by people like the chairman or people that own the club, which is how it usually works, right? Whenever they put out those org charts of how Manchester United is operated, usually they say with transfers, the final approval has to come from the Glazers, has to come from, sometimes it's Joel Glazer, I think, I don't know, but sometimes you see those org charts come out there. So are they going to be really interested in transfer business and transfer spend and who we sell and who we buy when potentially they could be selling the entire business and cashing in their chips and getting out? That's a problem too. So I'm sure they're having those conversations, but as I mentioned, it's probably business as usual. They're talking every day, but probably their conversations are always the same. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. Lucas Chan says, I would be so over the moon. Wow, to win the quadruple, yeah, and then get my would it be worth it? That'd be the question. Ed says, Owen with a 20-minute analysis for 5 minutes of chat. Oh, you have no idea, Ed. Yeah, sometimes, particularly on my wrestling news channel, sometimes there ain't a lot. There ain't a lot of news. Sometimes the news ain't newsing. Yeah, and sometimes you have to sort of, dig deep or delve deep, go deep. Deep analysis on it. Well, what do they call it? They do it in like when you have English exams. And when they use this word, what did the author really mean? And it's your own interpretation about what this word means. What does this signify? Is this a metaphor for meaning something else? God, I used to hate those exams. English language or English literature. Oh, my goodness me. Of Mice and Men. Was it Curly and his wife? Film's better as well than the book. And they wouldn't even, where I was, they wouldn't even put the film on. Can we watch the film? No, you've got to read the book of Mice and Men. And then what is wild about that is then you'd have to buy books about the book to revise for an exam. How crazy is that? Have you bought the Mice and Men book? Oh, what to read? No, the Mice and Men book of the analysis of Mice and Men. Excuse me? Oh, man, I'm glad I don't have to. I'm not at school anymore. It wasn't for me, honestly. Not for me whatsoever. And do you ever have those, I mean, I'm fully off now. Do you ever have those dreams where you're back at school and you've like not done your homework or whatever, or it's an exam and you haven't prepared for it? And you're like, I haven't prepared for this exam. Oh, yeah, exactly. Lucas Chan says there, you had to write 3 pages on why she wore a red dress. It's true. It's true. That's what it had to be. Point, evidence, explain, plus, or something. That's how you had to structure your paragraphs. Oh, it was so frustrating. Ed says we had 2 copies of Catcher in the Rye. Exactly. It's criminal what was going on in that school system. Manny says, LOL, Owen gone off on a tangent again. Yeah, I'll get back on track. That's non-stop. Disgrace cheat. Do you know what it is as well? Is usually I'm on a different like streaming thing, and we're not on that streaming thing at the moment because I don't want it to sort of trigger the automatic ads. So I'm in StreamYard. StreamYard doesn't have like my noise gate from my microphone. So because of that, you can't really cut out all the background sounds. It's very annoying. But I am here to talk about a press conference, so I'm back. The next question was, how impressed with Bournemouth have you been this season? And Eric Ten Hag said, quote, I think it's really brilliant a club as Bournemouth. They are in the Premier League and it's 3 games before the end of the season. They are definitely in the Premier League next season as well. It's massive. You can see clear patterns. So well done. And do you know what it is with the Sirens as well? It's because I live right next to a main road. That's why. I'm just off a main road. That's why. So you always... It's very, very frustrating. As to how well Bournemouth have done, yeah, they've done excellently this season. I think they released a post on social media with all of these people like myself or content creators or pundits and people calling into radio shows and what have you, saying, and pretty much to a T, everyone said that Bournemouth was going to get relegated. Who's your 3 to go down? And 9 times out of 10, it was Bournemouth. It was always Bournemouth. And they posted something being like, you're all after us. We're not going to get relegated. And they're not. And Gary O'Neill's did a fantastic job. Speaking of takeover, they were in a bit of a similar situation. Scott Parker, of course, was the manager at the beginning of the season. Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? And I think they didn't spend a huge amount in the summer as well. I think because of a takeover thing going on. I think their takeover thing was completed like just at the start of the season. So because of that, there wasn't a lot of business in the summer. Gary O'Neill was an interim caretaker manager at first, becomes a permanent manager, and he's done brilliantly. And you still look at their team, and maybe this is going to come back and bite me, but you still look at their team now and their starting lineup in their last few games, and that will be against Man United tomorrow. You look at it, you guys, a championship side. But sometimes it's not necessarily about personnel. It's about the team as a collective unit. And clearly, as a collective unit, as Ten Hag says, they've got clear patterns of play. They've done a fantastic job. They've punched above their weight. I think they'd probably hope that this summer, now that all of their sort of ownership situations are kind of resolved, they'll probably spend a bit more money. But they've done brilliantly. But that's not to say that United should be afraid of them. We should be cautious because our away record isn't great this season, to put it lightly. It's not good this season. But at the same time, if you don't beat Bournemouth away when you really need to, as I said, you don't deserve to be in the top 4. Mackie says, I feel your pain, Owen. I live right next to a police station. Rich, big up Rich, says, I can confirm Owen is actually on the run from police. It is true. All the time. Whenever I'm doing these streams, I'm actually never in one position. You can't see right now because I'm moving so fast. I'm like the Flash in the Speed Force, but I'm actually always constantly running away from them. And occasionally when you hear this, occasionally, it's all the time. When you hear the siren, it's because they start to catch up to me. And I'll just, just Danny says, Owen has 4 stars, referring to GTA. I get the reference. Did you ever used to play those games just to see how many stars you could get before you get caught? I used to do that all the time. And then you're driving around and all the police are coming after you. And then eventually, you know what used to always get me is when they threw out the spikes. When they threw out the spikes and they popped the wheels on your car, that's when you're in trouble. That's eventually you can't get away. But that's on like old. I don't even know if the last Grand Theft Auto game came out like a decade ago, right? And I feel like they're making the new one now. And the new one's going to come out fairly soon, I believe. But I used to play I think the last Grand Theft Auto game I played was 3, 4. Which one's Vice City? I used to play that one. I got in trouble at school for lending a Grand Theft Auto game to a kid. This is a true story. A friend of mine, when I was in like primary school, came over my house and we were playing Grand Theft Auto, and he said, and I went, you can borrow that if you want, you can borrow the game. And I gave him the game, and then like a few days later, we're lining up to go into the classroom at school, and one of the parents came up to me and said, well, this is disgusting. Well, why are you giving this to my kid? I went, he asked. Yeah, he asked for it. And I gave it. That's an expensive game. I lent him that for free. And you're having a go at me for being generous. Get out. Take the game back. Not lending it again. Awful. Awful. I don't even know how old we were at the time. We were in like year 3. So how old's that? Like maybe 10, 8. Maybe they say like, you shouldn't be playing it, because I think technically we're too young to be playing those games. But it doesn't matter. Rude by the parent to me. As Josh, it's disgrace. I should have said that. If that was in my vocabulary at the time, I would have said, you're an absolute disgrace. You're a cheat. That's my game. Open it again. Check if my memory card's still on the top, because I used to have the little holders. Disc, memory card. That's mine too. Too generous. Lots of people said too young to play GTA. I'm an old soul. Next question was, how much of a threat to you? Well, this was a strange question, because it was one of those questions where the answer was in the question. So Ten Hag didn't respond to it. It was, how much of a threat to you is this game? You've obviously got a game in hand for 4th, but you have to make sure that everyone is focused and you don't slip up. And Ten Hag went, oh yeah, you said it in the question. I don't have to answer that. So yeah. The next question was about Phil Jones. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this today. Phil Jones, United have confirmed that Phil Jones is leaving at the end of the season. Everyone knew this anyway, but his contract's expiring. They did a nice piece for him. He visited the training ground, visited with his family. He's been there for 12 years. Been there for 12 years. And won considerable amount of trophies during his time there. Pretty much everything, right? Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup, Europa League. He's gone to 2 World Cups. I didn't even realize that till Ten Hag said it. But Ten Hag was asked about Phil Jones, said, obviously, you've not seen him that much in terms of playing games. And Ten Hag went, yes, I saw him in training for 20 minutes, first training of the year. And that's when you kind of just realize how just sort of broken down Phil Jones's body is, really. He hasn't 20 minutes. That's all he's done of training. First training of the year, 20 minutes, and he's never trained again. But Ten Hag continued saying he has had a great career. What he achieved, winning the FA Cup, winning Europa League, being present at 2 World Cups, massive career at Manchester United, all credits for his career. And I would recommend going to watch the video that United did. They did an interview with him. And on top of that, Phil Jones himself has released quite a lengthy message to the fans. And you do really sympathize with him in terms of his injury struggles. Obviously, he should have left the club a long time ago, and that's not his fault. That's the club's fault. They shouldn't have given him a contract. The last one they gave him was ridiculous, frankly, to give him that contract at the time, when, again, by that point, he still had been barely playing. But the message he's put out there was you do sympathize. And he also said, like, what's the greatest moment of your Manchester United career? And interestingly, surprisingly, he said, actually, it was probably the game against Wolves last year, when he came back, his first game for however many years. He said, I worked so hard to get to that point. That's why when he came off the pitch, he was in tears. We'd lost that game as well, but he was actually one of our best players that day. And to get to that point physically was such a massive accomplishment and achievement for him, which is great. But at the same time, you think, man, this is Man United. And that's going on, at United is kind of wild, really. But, he's now gone. I think, honestly, I can't see him going anywhere else. Like, where will he go? Because he doesn't play games. He can't. His body can't handle it, honestly. So, credit to him for what he's achieved in his career. But, obviously his time to go was a long time ago. Finally, last question was Marcel Sabitzer, of course, not available. He's out for the remainder of the season. Is he someone you would look to keep? And Ten Hag said, quote, "We will see, but it's not our main focus. The main focus is Bournemouth." And that was it. That was the press conference done in just a couple of minutes. Sabitzer, I've kind of said my piece on him before. Good signing, good loan signing. It was good as we're going to get. Last day, last minute loan. Eriksen's injured. So that was as good as we were going to do. That was actually a rare bit of good business for United. But the talk of keeping him past the summer, I wouldn't keep him. I know there's this argument out there that he's better than what we've got, so therefore we should sign him. But I don't think we should be limiting ourselves to that when there are other options available for us. I'll be honest, I haven't been blown away. I've seen some people I think go way too far in terms of the praise for him. He's a good player, okay? But he's also been injured quite a bit too. And I saw him do when he's come on, he did okay. I saw some people go, this is what we need. Finally, I've seen a midfield at Man United. And you go, I don't think, no. That, a couple of nice passes here and there, good touches. But let's not be blown away here. And that is kind of, it's almost like Donny-ish, when people go crazy. See, he did great today. And you go, did he? Did he do great today? I didn't really see that much of him. My probably best memory of him during his time at United, if indeed it has come to an end, was the goal he scored against Fulham after they had the red cards, and the finish was actually a fantastic. I don't still to this day don't really know how he did it. The ball was kind of behind him and he flicked it in. But as far as keeping him beyond the end of the season, I don't think that would be the right move for us, honestly. So yeah, I wouldn't keep Sabitzer. But as Ten Hag said, we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's not the main focus right now. The main focus is the game against Bournemouth tomorrow. See what else some of you guys are saying in the chat before we wrap things up as well. Papa J just says these journalists are a joke. And Blue Dabba Dabba says Phil is a legend. SJ says, is he retiring now, Phil Jones? I only read that he's leaving. I don't know. There hasn't been any confirmation that he's retiring. Sometimes when players leave clubs, they can have a thing whereby they sort of see what their options are in the summer. But I wouldn't be shocked if he is retiring. Frankly, again, my theory has always been with him for the last couple of years is that he knows that he can't play full-time football anymore. But if you've got a contract, and people say, shameless, you're milking the club for what it's worth. But if you're him and he's 31, he's not exactly old. And that I've got 2 years left on this contract. I know I can't play anymore. And I know my career's been ravaged by injury, but they gave me the contract. That's not my fault. They gave me that contract. So I'm going to see it out. I've got to do what's right for me. He's got a young family. He's got, especially when your career is possibly over that early, you got to get your money. That's what you've got to do. So I don't know if he is retiring. Again, they haven't said that, but again, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if indeed he has retired. Mackie says 100K a week for 4 years with 4 games, light work. I mean, I know pay per game is kind of nuts, isn't it? And Blue Dabba Dabba says, and you got me addicted to AI songs right now. I tell you what, honestly. And Blue Dabba Dabba brings up a really good point because it's scary. Yeah, what's going on with the AI songs? That Heart on My Sleeve song with Drake and The Weeknd. Obviously, they didn't actually do it, but you would have thought they had. If you listen to it, it's incredible. Some of the other ones aren't as good. I've been listening to some sort of Michael Jackson AI ones, which Josh hates because he's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And it's not the same, but they're getting close, very close. And again, it's scary how close they're getting for some of them. Some of them are better than others, I must be said. But there you go, guys. Look, as I mentioned, not a lot going on with this press conference, so not too much to speak about. Be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can go and check out the morning view with myself and Flex earlier on this morning, talking about, what were we even talking about? Oh, yeah, a new deal for Lisandro Martinez, a little bit more on Rabiot, some transfer targets, Kim Min-jae, Gahey as well from Crystal Palace was discussed this morning. So if you haven't already, be sure to check that out too. As Josh says, they're rubbish. Speaking of rubbish, yeah, ask Josh what happened last time I played him on FIFA. I played him on FIFA again in the week. It's probably going to come to an episode of UV Raw very soon. 3 consecutive wins. Who kept clean sheets in all of their victories? Did Josh score a goal? What was my win record against Josh on FIFA this week?
100%. 100%.
100% win record. Yeah, 100% win record. So, you know, hey, that you'll be able to check that out at a future episode of UV Raw. More episodes coming soon, by the way, as well. I've got it on good information that the next episode could be an all-timer. So if you haven't already, join the members club and you'll be sure to we'll be able to check that out. Anyway, guys, look, I'm out of here. Have a good Friday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.